Imagine waking up on a random Wednesday, checking your phone, and seeing that the sequel to one of your favorite games from the past few years was announced out of the blue, with a demo already available on Steam to boot. Wait, that actually happened. We got this seemingly random Monster Train 2 announcement, and I gotta say, the game is looking like it's going to be fantastic. For me, Monster Train is the roguelike deck builder. A funner, better game than Spire that I never uninstall and still come back to this day. Very few roguelike deck builders grab me like this game did. And while the demo is only available on Steam right now, Monster Train 2 is also officially confirmed to be releasing on PS5, Xbox Series, and Nintendo Switch. This video is just going to keep some gameplay from my runs in the demo in the background while I break down the announcement, news, and some of the updates and things that they're doing to this game. If you weren't sure how they could improve on this formula, stay tuned because there's some really cool additions here. Right away, the first thing we see in the demo is that there is more of a story element in this game. And if you're familiar with Monster Train, you'll see that you are actually working with some of the bosses that you fought in the first game, namely Fel and Talos, and Fel is actually the champion for one of the new factions you can play in the demo. And this is because the big bad from the first game, Seraph, didn't really take his defeat at the hands of Hell very well, and decided to cope by looking for even more powerful allies, namely something called the Titans. However, what has basically happened, and what probably could have been predicted, is that the Titans have now taken control of heaven, corrupted Seraph and whoever is left there, and are generally up to no good. Now, the story was more of a general framework in the first game, and it's something a lot of players might not care about, but there are some other pieces in this preview that make it sound like it'll be a little bit bigger piece in this game than you might think. I'll get to those later when we talk about the hub and some of the other mechanics that they introduce. I am genuinely curious though if this story is something they had planned out ahead of time when they created Monster Train, or if this is just something they decided after the first one was so successful. As far as the gameplay and overall mechanics, the setup and loop are pretty similar to the first one, which is a good thing. They're not reinventing the wheel here like some sequels try to do. You'll go through the different rings with the option to take one side or the other, and you'll have shops, upgrades, and a battle in each one. Before those battles, you'll still have the optional trials and rewards that you can accept if you want a little bit of a tougher challenge. The art style is similar yet different, and honestly, I can't say if it's an improvement or not. I'm not really sure how I feel about some of the characters, like this rooster dragon guy. Although the train stewards definitely look a lot cooler now and are much tougher than they were. And the music, if you like the music in the original one, you're going to like it here too, because it's still that same epic orchestral electronic style. And of course, the backbone of the system, the card combat, is still the same. You'll start with a basic deck, and each battle you'll deploy your troops onto each level of the train to defend, while drawing random cards and using your limited ember to maximize your results. At the top of the train is your pyre, which is basically your health pool, and if the enemies reach it and attack it, it does attack back. However, once it loses all of its health, it's game over. Winning battles and visiting shops will gain you more cards, as well as upgrades, tweaks, and special abilities. Overall, I can say that jumping into this demo really felt like home if you've already played Monster Train. The foundation was already strong, and they made a smart move by not deviating away from that. So what are they doing to actually improve and change this formula as opposed to making this just a glorified expansion? Well, for starters, and probably to be expected, we have completely different clans. There will be 5 total clans in the final game, and none of them are from the first game. They are all brand new. This plays into the alliance angle, as now, instead of just Hell's forces, we have a mix of heaven and hell available to us. The demo allows you to play 2 of these clans, one that is an angel clan with Fel, and the other that is a dragon clan. Just like the first game, the 2 clans will synergize into your deck, and you'll have to figure out how they work together best to make them efficient. Also, like the first game, each clan has a very unique play style. For example, Fel and his clan are kind of movement based, with a valor mechanic that increases their attack and armor after combat, and it can also be boosted by advance cards, which take a unit and move it to the front of the line while giving it extra valor. This is a nice, fresh mechanic that wasn't in the first game, and it makes me really think that these 5 clans are really going to be something special. One thing that Monster Train definitely did well was establish individual identities for each clan, giving them their own set of buffs, abilities, and playstyles. I'm not sure if it's unique because of the Dragon clan, but there is also a Dragon treasure hoard that certain cards, spells, and attacks will increase release your dragon eggs for. And throughout the run, you have the option to basically pillage this horde and redeem those eggs for relics or rewards, or stash them and wait until later to get even more options and more powerful rewards. And while that is a nice little extra and a great way to farm relics, let's move on to the new deck and combat mechanics, because this is where they really nail these small improvements and tweaks to the original formula that honestly feel like perfect fits. My personal new favorite addition is the room cards, where you can turn one floor of the train into a room that gives special effects. There's even a little animation and some decorations that pop up when you do it. An example of these is the Inferno room that does 50 damage to all units at the start of combat, which I got excited about, didn't read, and ended up killing all of my units on that floor, as well as a Fight Club room that gives all of your allied units on that floor 15 extra damage, and a room that shows some long overdue love to the train stewards, giving them extra attack, multi-strike, and other buffs. To add on top of this, there are also now equipment cards that can be stacked onto a unit to add extra effects, and it's not just simple stuff. For example, there was a dagger that I equipped on my hero which gave them quick, meaning they attack before the enemies attack, which is always one of my most favorite effects. There's also a new shopkeeper for rooms and equipment cards, and they can be upgraded just like spells in units. A nice example of this is an upgrade for room cards that lets you use them during the deployment phase before the battle starts. And at the shopkeeper, equipment can even be combined. I combined my dagger that gave the hero quick along with another item that gave them extra 20 damage. This is fantastic, and it just adds another nice extra layer of deployment level and deck management and strategy. But that's not all. Another new mechanic is that the champions, in my case Fel, and some other units have activated abilities now with cooldowns. With Fel being the leader of the clan that has the Valor mechanic, his activated ability that I selected was that he would automatically advance to the front of the line, get extra armor, valor, and some other buffs, and this could be used to save some of my units that would have otherwise died if he wasn't there to take the damage. His ability had a 3-turn cooldown, which I think is fair, and it also synergized with his movement buffs, so every time that he would switch position or I would use that ability, he would also get the extra buffs from that. This is just a great example of how this adds another nice twist, extra mechanic, and a little bit more strategy that you can add into your deck and how you synergize and use your units and abilities together. Anybody who has spent some time with Monster Train has had one of those runs where all of the synergies, all of the RNG, and all of the effects are just humming. And it feels good to see it all come together and your units working off of each other and just destroying the enemies. Now at the end of my second run, I did reach Seraph and got bodied, but that same synergistic feeling from Monster Train where I was rolling and getting hot was all through that run, and I was loving it. In my opinion, that synergy and feeling is a key part of the appeal of the Monster Train series, and it's good to know that Monster Train 2 is not stepping on that. But let me know in the comments how you feel about that. I can't be the only one that loves that feeling. And let's talk about the rest of the announcement and features that they show in this preview. Number 1, there is no release date yet or even a time frame, but in my opinion, and I have no insider information, I think that we're going to see Monster Train 2 sooner rather than later. There is a screen in the demo as well as a press release that talks about some of the other things, but one of the biggest highlights to me on the demo screen is that the full game will also include an endless mode. I know this is something a lot of people have looked for, and this is something that is very popular in other games, and if you don't know, an endless mode basically just means like waves and waves and waves, survival as long as you can. I really like those modes in a lot of games, and I'm glad that they're including it. Monster Train 2 will also still have all of the Covenant levels, mutators, and all of the fixins from the first one. However, they specifically mentioned dimensional challenges, which the press release talks about a little bit more and says they're going to be handcrafted challenges with brand new mutators. So these will be specially designed challenges, and I'm interested to see what they come up with. There's also a customizable train, which is cool, but doesn't really feel like a necessary feature since we hardly see it anyways. But maybe I'm missing something there. And another addition and unlockable will be Pyre Hearts, which are pretty much pyres for your train with unique traits and perks that can add even more variety to your runs. I don't think there's any of these in the demo. Maybe if I didn't get beat by Seraph I could have got one, but it's promised that these are all going to be unique and add a lot of different things. Next, we have the Outpost Hub, and this is just kind of like the main area you'll go back to after each run. I noticed this in the demo after I failed. I thought it was over, but this hub will be your main area, and it says it's going to have character interactions that move the story forward. After my failed run, there was a conversation between Fel, Talos, and the dragon from Hell that was not too happy with them. And while this is a cool feature, again, the story thing I feel like is something that's probably going to be like 50-50 between players. However, I feel like this directly ties into the next part of the press release where it talks about celestial alcoves and specifically mentions random events that will happen and even hints at maybe crossovers, as it directly says expect appearances from outside of the Monster Train universe. I'm not sure how that would work and what kind of random events they're talking about. If this is going to be random events in the hub where characters maybe have new dialogue or something like that. But as of right now, this is all of the information we were given with this awesome new announcement. And even though we don't have a release date yet, just the fact that this game is being made and it's more of the same with just the right special sauce added on top of it has me hyped up to play it. Definitely check out the demo on Steam yourself, and if you haven't played the first game, it's on sale as of this recording for like $3 and is an amazing value for that price. I'm going to let the rest of the battle with Seraph play out here for the gameplay, so if you want to watch that, you can stick around. Otherwise, see you in the next one.